Hey, what's going on, guys? Um, Making a video today to, I don't know, maybe clear the air about a few things. I've had quite a few comments. I mean, quite a few, maybe six, over the course of the, year and a half I've been doing this. And the questions or comments have actually kind of danced around, have you ever actually gone through any of this? And I assume meaning, have I ever gone through anxiety and panic disorder? Well, this video is going to, answer that question. And, obviously at first, I mean, I kind of like blew them off because I feel like that I've touched on quite a few of my videos, like my, um, I don't know, my experiences. Um, I mean, I never really got really in depth as to how bad or how horrible my anxiety really was. And like I said, I kind of took offense to them a little bit. Um, but at the same time, I do realize that it's a very, very valid question. A lot of us, we go to, you know, doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists, and a lot of the times they never actually have ever been through this. They've never gone through anxiety and panic disorder, and it's difficult to take their advice and to understand where they're coming from, considering they've never actually gone through it. But to answer the question, yes, I have gone through anxiety and panic disorder for the better part of 8 years, and that's kind of what started, you know, my, I guess, journey, for lack of a better term, as to why this happens, and I wanted to find out a way to stop it because the fact of the matter is I mean, any physician that you talk to, you ask them, like, is there a clear-cut cure for this? I mean, is there a magic pill? And the answer is a resounding fuck no. Like, there is not a cure. And I'm not the type of person that will take things for face value, considering, I will go back in time and start from the beginning and kind of give you my story. And hopefully that kind of clears up some of these questions as to whether or not I've ever dealt with this or I've ever gone through anxiety and panic disorder. So I will start with, I guess, the very first day. Why not start at the very, very beginning and, I don't know, kind of give you all the yucky and gross details that I tried to sidestep for so long because I figure we have so much negativity in our lives, whether it's self-induced, created, or brought to us by other folks. I tried to sidestep that. I never really wanted to make this a sob story about myself. Um, and I will get to the reason why I make these videos probably towards the end. So this one's probably going to be a little longer than normal. So, please bear with me. I would love for you to hear it because I have actually never shared this with anyone. So why not share it with all of you, right? So I guess for starters, um, my anxiety and panic started to where, on a clinical level, I mean, as a child, I was always a worrier. I worried about a lot of things, about my mom dying or death in general. I worried about monsters. I worried about being kidnapped. I worried about kids picking on me in school or if I was going to get beat up. Um, I mean, I guess normal, everyday things that I guess I would assume kids fear. Well, fast forward to when my clinical, I guess, anxiety and panic came about. Well, I was roughly about 25 years old. I'm 33 now. And I don't know, I had a outing with some friends. Like, we went out, went to the bars, did the whole thing that we typically do. A lot of people do that. And we were big into poker at the time. So, after we, went out, had a couple of beers, we decided we were going to go to the casino and go play some poker. Well, it was kind of getting a little bit late, about 12:30 at the time, and so I decided, I'm like, hey, let's grab a couple Red Bulls. I'm in for the long haul. Let's go make some money at the casino. So went over to the gas station close to my house, grabbed a couple Red Bulls, slam, the whole nine. Well, long story short, our plans were canceled. Like, out of nowhere. I don't remember exactly why now, but we decided not to go and to actually call it a night. So I went back to my apartment and I laid down to go to sleep, flicked on the television, and I was laying there and kind of drifting off to sleep, and then it was like out of nowhere, boom, all of a sudden my heart started just jumping out of my chest. And of course, first thing that you would think of is like, well, hey, dummy, you drank a couple of Red Bulls and tried to go to bed. Well, that didn't dawn on me at the time because I had been drinking Red Bulls for a couple of years. I worked 2 jobs while going to college, and Red Bull kind of became a staple in my life. It was something that I relied on every day to get myself to where I needed to be. As far as energy wise, keep myself awake, getting papers done, making sure that I was performing well at work, yada yada. So I get up and I'm jumping around and I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? I can't breathe very well, and my heart's jumping out of my chest, and I'm pacing and I'm pacing, and then it dawns on me, holy shit, I'm having a heart attack at 25 years old. I'm completely on board with that. Like, not one bit of logic touched this part of the region of myself. Nothing in my brain told me, hey, drink a couple of Red Bulls, hey, this, that. No. I was having a heart attack. So I drove my happy ass over to the ER and went in there and walked up to the front desk and told them, ma'am, I am having a heart attack. And I was panicking and shaking and terrified. Well, they take me back into the observation area. They take my vitals, hook me up to an EKG, run blood tests, urine tests, ask me if I'm on drugs. Of course, I let them know I'd probably had 3 beers that night. I also told them about the stimulant, Red Bull, as well. But at the same time, like, the doctor didn't seem too concerned considering I took it every day. Caffeine never really bothered me up until that point. So, long story short, they sent me home. They're like, yeah, you don't have anything wrong with you. Just go on home and try to relax. Well, I took that and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not dying, so that's good. So I, leave the hospital, jump in my car. I'm on my way home. About a couple minutes into my drive, something just didn't seem right to me. And I'm at this point thinking they missed something. They must not have administered a test correctly. And yeah, I am at this point considering I'm like I must have cancer, brain cancer. I could potentially have mitral valve prolapse. I have all of these insane diseases, ailments, handicaps, whatever you want to call it. I'm going over everything. I'm thinking about, females that I had been with in my past. Do I have AIDS? Is there a demon in me? The list goes on and on. I thought of every conceivable horrific thing that could possibly happen to me at that time. And that started a cycle that plagued my life for a better part of the next 3 to 4 years. Fucked with me every day. Every single day. Okay? I go to work the next day. I have this overwhelming fear all day long. Can't figure out why. Cannot figure out for the life of me what's going on? What is wrong? Like, what am I nervous about right now? Mind you, I'm 25 years old. I go to the gym 6-7 days a week. I think I'm king shit. You know what I mean? Typical 25-year-old douchebag bullshit. And I think I'm untouchable. I'm fearless at this point. Now all of a sudden I'm not fearless, and I'm wondering what the hell's going on. Well, driving home from work that day, and as I'm driving on the freeway, I get this horrific pain in the back of my head, and everything turns sideways. Like, literally turns sideways to me. I guess literally is not the right word, because obviously the world didn't turn sideways. But my vision went sideways. And I'm on the freeway. I'm doing 85 miles an hour home on the freeway. At that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm probably going to die. So I gripped my steering wheel as hard as I possibly could and closed my eyes and just waited for whatever the hell's going to come. Well, moments later, somehow or another, I'm on the side of the road at a complete stop, complete blackout time. Have no clue what the hell just went on. So again, I run to my primary physician, my doctor, the doctor I've gone to since I was a child. I'm calling my mom, my girlfriend. I'm calling everybody. I'm like, I'm going to die here. I don't know what happened. Did I just have a stroke? Did I have a brain aneurysm? What the hell's going on? I can't figure it out. I go, I get checked out by him. No problems. Nothing. Nothing. So at this point, now I'm really thinking, I'm like, oh my God, now they're both missing shit. Not only can I not trust the hospital, I can't trust my primary physician. My doctor since I was basically a freaking baby. Okay? So it leaves me with nothing but time to think and what's going to happen. So, of course, in hindsight, logic tells me like I had a horrific panic attack. I mean, I'm sure you've been on the freeway and then all of a sudden you just feel like you're going to lose control. Of course, I didn't attribute it to that. Of course, the pain in my head just so happened to be a coincidental thing. But at the same time, it created, yet again, a cycle that I would deal with for over the next 4 to 5 years, I guess. 3, 4, 5 years. Well, from that day forward, I consistently, every freaking day, every day, was terrified of heart attacks, strokes. When was the next one coming? What was I going to look like in front of everybody if I had a freak out when I was terrified? I mean, I was having little instances where people were kind of getting a glimpse into what I was going through. Like I tried to go to Cedar Point with a couple of friends, and maybe 10 to 15 minutes into our drive, I start getting bad heart palpitations, and I'm like, oh my God, there's no way I can make this. The farther away from home I would get, the worse it would get. I couldn't go to restaurants. I mean, it was a compilation of all these different things, like all these factors, all these what ifs. What if I die in front of all these people? What if I die in general? What if I don't die on my own terms? Which sounds ridiculous, correct? Does that not sound dumb? What if I don't die on my own terms? What if I don't have a chance to say goodbye to everybody? What if? What if? What if? Consume my mind every day. Every day. And of course, can't hide it forever, right? Especially to those that are closest to you. So, of course, I got made fun of by friends. They made a joke out of it. My fiance at the time, good girl, you know what I mean, really dealt with it for a long time. You know what I mean? It was a long time. She was dealing with it every day. I mean, I really rarely wanted to go anywhere anymore. I would come home from work, and I couldn't wait for her to come over because then I could like lay my head in her lap, and that's what I would do every night. Like that's what I would do. I would lay my head in her lap and just sit there. Like it was like my happy place or my safe place, something along those lines. And I couldn't get past it. Of course, it was horrible. I would sit there with her all the time. Of course, we never really got to do a whole lot. Um, I couldn't go to sleep at night, because I was fearful. I was, taking like these long showers where I would just sit in the shower and like a lot of the times I would just bawl like a child. Gut deep down soulful crying like because I could not figure out what was going on. I was so scared. I was terrified every day. And my fiance, like, she would actually read to me at night, like on the phone, like we'd both be on speakerphone or whatever, and she would read to me until I fell asleep. Like, I mean, I lost all my masculinity in my opinion. I mean, I was in fear of my life and every situation. Every situation had a potential of ending my life or making me embarrassed or embarrassing her, embarrassing my parents. I mean, that was, it got really, really bad. And of course, as you well know, of course, like frustration sets in pretty quickly where now you're angry all the time because you just don't ever feel good. I mean, you never get proper sleep. You don't, you're not eating properly because you're nauseous half the time. I mean, you're constantly body checking, consistently. And not to mention that, that fun little thing that we have, which is called, like, the internet. And I mean, as you can tell just by the way I'm talking right now, I mean, this is actually pretty difficult to talk about because it's so far in my past now. But, anyways, like the internet. I mean, what a fucking devil that is, you know what I mean? It's like WebMD is literally the devil. I mean, I appreciate what all those folks do over there. But I mean, at the same time, any little ailment that you have, every fucking one of them leads back to cancer. It doesn't matter what you have. I mean, you have a twitch in your finger, joint pain, anything. I mean, honestly, anything. Like, pick the most random symptom that you could possibly have. Fucking Google that shit, put it in WebMD, and you are gonna be dead in 6 months. Like, that's exactly what happens. And I started to buy into this shit, and I continued to research every day. Every day I was online, constantly checking, like, what does this mean? What is that? Blah, blah, blah. Not to mention, over the next year and a half, I racked up like $200,000 in medical bills because I was going to the ER once every 5 days. And that's on the low end. I mean, I know I had weeks where I'd gone 3 times, all for the same shit. And it was funny, like, I mean, at 27, 28 years old, I mean, I'd had like 36 EKGs. Just imagine that. Imagine how many EKGs that is. And they would continually administer them to me. And I don't necessarily think it was just for money reasons, but it was like I was so emphatic that I needed to be checked that, they would continue to do it and they would continue to run tests. I mean, I was getting tests on anything and everything. I mean, I went on a mobile, like, senior bus that, they test like seniors for like some of the craziest shit. You know what I mean? Like stuff like like Lou Gehrig's disease and um, osteoporosis and all this stuff. I mean, I was getting checked for anything that I possibly could. I was very desperate to find an answer as to why I didn't feel very good all the time. And of course, I never once just tried to take it for what it was, which was anxiety. And I never took the time to understand it. Of course, I just took a lot of the things at face value, but I also discredited most of my doctors because they couldn't give me an answer, which was very troubling and concerning to me because I would go through these periods where, the symptoms wouldn't come on until, or like the symptoms would start and then I would panic. That was like my biggest hang up. Like it's the whole chicken before the egg thing. Um, it drove me up insane. I'm a very analytical person, so you have anxiety and you're an extremely analytical person. That is like a recipe for fucking disaster if anybody's ever heard of one. So, well, like I said, continually body checking, continually getting tested for more and more things, trying to figure out what the hell this was. And it got brutal. It was horrible. Over time, of course, my world got smaller. My friendships were dissipating. I mean, if I did have friends, they didn't understand. Those that did, I could still see that they were a little, not even say leery of me, but they felt sorry for me. Um, they stopped inviting me out places that weren't within like 10 miles of my house, which, that was very sweet of them, and I do appreciate that in hindsight now because I know they were just looking out for me. They wanted to spend time with me, but they also knew that I had a radius that I felt comfortable with. So, if any of them ever happen to watch this video, I mean, I love you for that. That was very, very sweet. But as time went on, it started to wear on folks, because I mean, I was so irritable every day, like terribly, because I was scared. I was so consumed in my own mind. I couldn't handle questions. I could not handle hearing about someone dying. And if I did hear about them dying, I didn't feel sorry for the families or anything along those lines. I wanted to know how they died. How'd they die? And then once I would find out, I would Google to make sure I didn't have that. Or I would Google the symptoms that would cause something like that. And if I had ones that coincided, I would freak out. I would flip out and I would get scared and I would probably end up back at the ER. Of course, at this point, like, doctors are trying you on MAOIs and SSRIs, all depression shit. Stuff that I don't necessarily think you need. But like I said, that's my opinion. Nothing more. But like I said, things started to get harder. I mean, I was on the phone with my mom probably like 6 to 8 times a day, complaining about my anxiety and my fears of dying. Of course, my fiance at the time, God bless her. I mean, she listened to it probably just as much as my mom did, and she had to deal with that like every day, and I feel horrible that she had to deal with that. But I mean, at some point in time, you can't deal with it anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, I have the cutesy game that the girl likes to play, like, would you still love me if I lost a toe? Would you still love me if I lost my hair? Blah, blah, blah. Well, at this point in time, of course, we were kind of playing that game, and I asked her, if I was unable to, whatever, like, I guess, like, kind of dancing around, like, what if this thing does become debilitating? And I'm like, would you still love me? And, or would you still be with me, or something along those lines? And she was quite honest and said no. And I get that. It was very painful to hear, but at the same time, whatever, it was what it was. And over time, it wore on her because, like I said, my anger was out of control because I could not figure out what was going on with me, and I never really felt good. So it wore on her. I mean, we didn't have a lot of fun. I mean, we weren't having a lot of fun. A lot of it was, everything was fixated on my symptoms. My world revolved around my symptoms and making sure that I wouldn't die. I mean, like, planned me a birthday party. I ended up having to go to the hospital first or whatever. I was getting sick and throwing up all the time, and what wasn't valid was just out of fear. And like my irrational reasoning behind what was going on continued to get worse and worse and worse. I mean, I would come up with some of the craziest shit, which ultimately, it ended our relationship. I mean, obviously, she found sanctuary with someone else simply because, I mean, I can tell myself, like, I didn't feel like a man anymore, and like I said, with me becoming more and more angry, and I was just a bastard a lot of the times because like I said, I didn't feel good, and I couldn't separate the two. And of course, a lot of the times you take it out on the people that are closest to you, right? That's that's a tough one to swallow for me, and one that I still regret to this day. Even though I still don't think, if put in the predicament again, without knowing what I know now, I don't see how the outcome would have been any different. So ultimately, yeah, I had lost my fiance at the time. I was kind of struggling at work. I'd going home sick or scared, whatever. It's kind of calling off, and like I said, it kind of spiraled out of control. And I really didn't know where to go from there. And I mean, that was probably the first time that I kind of decided, like, hey, this isn't worth it anymore, man. It's like when you start thinking to yourself, you're like, man, I'm just like this huge freaking burden on people. Like, it was pretty bad. Like, you just felt like a huge burden. And of course, there's only one way to get rid of that burden. And of course, I danced around with the thought a few times. And it was never, never super serious, but I mean, at the same time, I was considering it at that point. Something I'm like, shit, my life is falling apart. I mean, I'd lost my job, and my girlfriend or my fiance at the time. I mean, two huge things. Losing friends left and right, and that are the time spent with them was very minuscule in comparison to what we used to do. And of course, I'm not the alpha male anymore that I thought I was, and like I said, it demasculated me. So moving forward, of course, like, those things happened, and I really didn't know what to do, so I started getting very manic, and I decided, like, right after that happened, I'm gonna buy this house, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm whatever, like, I guess just move forward. I started these really insane manic episodes, and I bought a house, and I was just focusing a lot of my time into that. I was focusing a ton of time into bringing the house up to code. I mean, I kind of bought a fixer upper, and and I kind of noticed, like, a decrease. in my anxiety because I was A, absolutely crushed and heartbroken, and B, I had something to, I guess, focus on. Like I had a lot of work to do in the house and everything like that. So unfortunately, at that point in time, I didn't recognize that there could be something going on with my own thinking that might be causing a lot of this. Because, like I said, my anxiety sort of subsided for a short period of time. And, you know,